many elements to her. So there's so many elements to Amy, and which is why I like to introduce her more through that perspective rather than the work she's done. But the work, she's always been in marketing and communication. She's worked with several schools, many children. One of the schools in Jaipur swear by her. And I have to confess, AcceptU swears by her now as well. One of her kids got into Barnard, and the other children have done beautifully well. We had one child from Lagos who worked with us saying, I can't write. I don't want to write. And he got into pretty much every college that he applied to working with Amy. So that's a little about Amy. Me, I think all of you all already know, but I've been a journalist by profession. I'm also the managing director for Asia AcceptU. And more importantly, I love working with kids. And I do a lot of work with essays and writing and workshops. So this is beyond excitement for Amy and me. We spent one whole Saturday planning this presentation, but to be fair, we also crabbed in a good lunch. So with that, Molin, hi, you're a little late after doing a very cute thumbs up to us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I joined at 9:30 because I thought that was the right time, but then I realized I had to join at 10. So sorry for coming late.
Okay. Amy was also confused about that. So to be fair,
yeah,
okay.
I was like, aren't we starting at 10?
All right. So we have a very small group, and that's the way we like to work, because there's going to be a lot of honesty here that has to come out, because it's not just Amy and me, it's also your peers who help to bring out the most relevant story. Luckily for us, all of y'all are literally different schools, different programs, different colleges. So there's never any competition. You can only go to one college, remember. Okay, so collaboration is the biggest way of working in your application. And with that, let's start our presentation because we have a lot to capture today. Amy is going to be presenting the first half. I'll do the second half, and we'll talk about the next steps as we move along. Ninad, yeah. The rest of us will put ourselves on mute, Amy, so you can take
that sounds good. Perfect. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Common App essay workshop for the weekend. I just want to say that I'm really excited to actually be meeting all of you because you're from all over India, and I've definitely read over a lot of your questionnaires and I've taken notes on them, and wow, I think we've got quite a stellar group of students right here. I'm quite impressed with what I've read so far. So I am definitely looking forward to helping you craft and piece together your story, figure out how you can identify your voice and really present yourself in the best light possible. Right. All right. Have any of you guys actually, we can move on to the next slide, actually. Can we move on? You know, yeah, thank you. Have any of you guys actually read through the prompts at all?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. That's two, yeah. So the other two, Samya, Ananya, have you read the prompts as well? No. Good. Okay, that's actually a good thing. Good. No, this is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Now, generally speaking, there are 7 prompts, and these prompts this year are the same as last year's prompts. And I actually don't necessarily love the idea of, picking a prompt and trying to answer that. I actually prefer you identifying things about you to highlight, maybe crafting a story and seeing definitely how it would fit or answer one of these prompts that we're going to go through. However, it is important for you to look through the prompts. Can anybody tell me why? Why would it be important then?
Children, just unmute yourselves and talk. I mean, we don't have to make it a very serious presentation at all.
No. I this is not how I function. I speak. I like speaking. I like interacting with you guys. So why would it be important for you guys just to read through the prompts or kind of understand what's going on? Any ideas?
Maybe like to help us identify like things about ourselves, like our strengths, our weaknesses. Like maybe like look at ourselves and our application through a different lens.
Yeah, that's definitely one of them. That's definitely one of the reasons.
Maybe because we should understand which prompt suits our knowledge of what you've done in our lives.
Okay, so it's kind of like looking at the prompts that would suit your story, sure, yeah, that definitely makes sense. For me, actually, the reason, yeah, go ahead, Naren, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe so that we can understand how like admissions officers want us to put our stories. Like we have a story, but we have to present it in a way that they can see our growth resulting from that story.
Yeah, you kind of nailed what I was gonna say, Naren. So basically, the reason why I think it's important just to read through the prompts is so that you have an idea of what admissions officers and colleges are looking for, right? Kind of like if these are all the things that they're asking, generally speaking, these are things that they will be considering and taking into your application, right? So it's just about saying, okay, so this is kind of the information that they want me to be presenting, right? Kind of the stuff that I should be talking about, right? Okay, so let's go through the first prompt. Can I get Ananya, do you want to read the first prompt?
Yeah. From here, some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story.
All right, so this prompt actually has been around for quite some time. I generally like to highlight and stress the importance of the words background, which also entail like identity, interest, and talent. It's kind of asking you to look at, is there something that kind of sets me apart from my peers? Is there something that I can really talk about that where I stand out, something that I can highlight? Is there anything that's been really important in my development of my character and aspirations? Right? Is there something in particular? So identity, interest, and talent are very broad. But if you have something, for example, like you are a ballerina, right? And that's something that you think really helps define you, perhaps this is something you could consider, right? Yeah, let's move on to the next. Any questions about this? It's pretty straightforward. No? Samia, do you want to read the next one?
Yeah. The lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you face a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience?
Yes. So this prompt, I would say, is so relevant in so many aspects of life when it comes to your presenting what you've learned, right? And kind of dealing with looking at how you deal with challenge. How do you overcome challenge? And it really is important, I think, and naturally what happens is in your response to this essay, you end up highlighting qualities such as, determination, perseverance, and also like humility, right? Like humility is a big one here. And this one is quite popular. I would say those who are able to look at setbacks and challenges that they've overcome and to be able to articulate what they've learned really effectively will also be able to nail many interviews because in interviews, they will invariably also ask you questions about setbacks you face and how you've overcome them because they want to see, right? How do you actually deal with hardship? Yeah. So, Imad, do you want to read the next one?
Yeah. Reflect on a time when you questioned a challenged belief or idea. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome?
Okay, so this prompt, can anybody tell me why this particular prompt would be considered one of the more difficult of prompts to answer? Anyone? No?
Take a try. You're not losing marks by doing it.
Anyone? No?
Maybe because like the belief or idea was controversial and like something you can't talk about in an essay. Or
Correct.
maybe like
That's
you
exactly.
questioned it, but you didn't do anything more about it. So there's nothing more to say after the point. Like you questioned it and it just stayed in a debate. Like you didn't take action on it.
Yeah, exactly. And you definitely nailed it. It could be because maybe you'd be presenting a belief or an idea that could be controversial or polarizing. And that's a risk, right? And that's something that a lot of students might not feel comfortable answering effectively. And this question though actually does leave room for a lot of very deep and personal and profound sort of revelations to be revealed when writing. The students that do answer this question and do it really well often talk about things that were truly life-changing, things that they went through where they can articulate definite development and growth. Right? Yeah, but this is a difficult prompt. Next, can we go to the next slide? Naren, do you want to read the next one?
Yeah. Reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you?
Right. So gratitude has become and increasingly becoming a very hot, I don't want to say like topic, but it is because of the pandemic, right? So they actually introduced this prompt during the pandemic as a new one. And I think it really had to do with, everybody going through lockdowns and death and so many different challenges. It was a hard time for everyone. And they really want to see how do you actually practice giving thanks, right? And how do you actually inspire others as well to pay it forward and share kindness, right? So gratitude is a topic. If you enjoy, if it's a big part of your life and you enjoy practicing it, maybe this could be something that you consider responding.
Amy, if I can add here, I think what happens a lot of times is with a lot of the Common App prompts, you end up questioning yourself, has there been something morbid or serious or really extra that might have existed in your life? And 80% of the children come and say, we haven't had that, so we're not unique. So I really like this topic because this allows you to present a very normal thing in a very unique way. So it's a very beautiful topic, and it, probably after the challenge or belief, I have to say it's my favorite.
Yeah, this is a great prompt. I don't have too many students actually that I know of who go for this one, but the ones that do can create and put together really beautiful moving stories, definitely. All right. Samia, do you want to read the next one?
Yeah. Discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others.
So this prompt, I just want to draw your attention to like the wording here. Some students ask me like, does it really have to be an event? I mean, accomplishment, event, or realization don't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be like something definitive. It could be something very small. The definition of any of these things is very general. So anything that really you can say inspired you to change or inspired you to learn something different, change the way you saw something, etc. And this prompt is because it's very general, it can be applicable to so many different students and different scenarios, right, that you've encountered. So actually, this is one of the more popular prompts that I've seen, definitely. Marlon, do you want to read the next one?
Sure. Describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? What or do you turn to when you want to learn more?
Yes, I really like this prompt. I kind of like to see this, and whenever I'm explaining it to students, it's kind of like where you get to flex any kind of sort of slightly geeky or topic that you really explore in your own time. This is a space for you to really nerd out, right? Go all out, talk about that topic, whatever it is. And it's a space for people to also see like how you engage with information subjects that you actually love, right? Outside of the classroom. Like, how do you actually engage with that? What do you actually do with it? And it's also a chance for them to understand kind of the range of things that you could be interested in that might not be related to necessarily what you want to study, right? It could be, it shows different parts of your intellectual curiosity. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, actually about this prompt, I wanted to like ask you something. This was originally the prompt that I was wanting to go with, but
Mhm.
like the topic that I came up with was like machine learning. And the suggestion that I got was that it's like too academic and I should probably go with something that doesn't show up in other parts of my application. So, like, what would you say about that? Is it fine to talk about machine learning?
I would say it's definitely fine to talk about machine learning as long as if you're not reiterating like textbook uh, facts, for example, right? You still have to explain why it's interesting to you to begin with, and you also definitely want to explain how you came across machine learning, right? Because that's how you make it personal. Otherwise, then it's just about the various applications of machine learning and how fascinating it is, right? You have to make it personal. Why do you find it interesting?
If I could add, Amy, so essentially, Naren, the difference is, are you reading a resume? If you tell me I've done da 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 course in machine learning, I find it really interesting. I want to do da 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 in college, not the place. Read the topic. It's a very tough topic. A topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose track of time. So if you tell me, I was so excited, I finished a 10-week course in 1 week, it's not making you lose track of time. What did you do in the next 10 weeks? How did you utilize it? How did you forget about everything else that existed and went detailed into it? And then what or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? That's really critical. So I struggled.
Correct.
I started using MLT. I made it to a certain tool for, let's say, banking and AI. But thereafter, I realized I couldn't capture the eyes of the people, or the human instincts of eyes I couldn't capture. So I went back to this. Then I wrote to the Harvard professor. Then I did this. Then we did this. That is the essay here. That's the crux of it. And I know because one of my kids who's got into Stanford wrote this one, and it was so intense. I actually could understand that she lost track of time in this.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's the difference. I thought I'll just jump in.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's definitely not a space for you just to be reiterating the facts and applications of machine learning and why you want to study it. It's definitely more of, like I said, a passion of yours that you really like want to share, and it's an integral part of someone getting to know you, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? No. Okay. And the last one, I guess anyone else want to read? I'll read it. Share an essay on a topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. Now, this one is great because if you're like, my story or the essay that I want to write really doesn't fit any of these prompts, right? Then you can definitely submit it under prompt number 7, this one. Yeah, so it definitely leaves room for a lot of freedom. All right, let's move on. All right, so the main thing when we're writing the Common App, it really is the first place where your voice is being conveyed in your application, right? You're directly communicating as yourself to the admissions officers, to the university. So it is really important. I always like to say that, if this is the one space where you have full control over what you say and how you present yourself, you might as well make sure that you're doing it to the best of your ability, right? So it is really important. Now, the Common App really, when you're writing it, the main thing is to think about, what is your story, right? So the questions that you end up pondering, as you can see from reading all the prompts, can everybody agree that you kind of start asking yourself questions like, who am I? Why am I here? And what really matters to me, right? All of these are questions that you'll be asking yourself. What really makes me unique? Now, I'm going to stress actually things like what matters to me and what makes me unique, because these are the questions you should be asking yourself before you pick a prompt. When I'm reading students' essays, especially like first few drafts, right? And what happens is sometimes students make the mistake of picking a topic that they think is like so unique, but they think that it's something that, because it's so unique, it'll be a great essay topic. That's definitely not the case. I also had students who think that they have to write about the thing that matters most to them. And say if it's their family, right? Okay, great, you can write about your family, but how many other students also, right, value their family members? So it is a bit of a balance between finding something like that really authentically represents who you are, what matters to you, right? But also looking at how do I really differentiate myself? How do I make myself stand out? It's a bit of both, right? And the next thing you do want to look at is also how does it align with your goals? Now, your goals could be anything from your career goals, your academic goals, life goals, right? Because everything that you're going to be writing about and why you're going to university will ultimately lead you to achieve these goals, right? So it is important for you to also see, okay, what do I want to achieve in general, right? What are my long-term, short-term goals? And how do I present my story to actually convey that I'm on that path, right? Because everything in the university application process, they like to see things leading to growth and development, right? Yeah. And lastly, you also want to consider, obviously, what have you done to actually showcase all of these things about yourself, things that you value, right? Things that make you stand out, distinguish you from other students. And ultimately, how does it really align with who you are, what you want to achieve, right? Does that make sense, everyone? Yeah. Any questions? No?
Yes, it does make a lot of sense.
Okay, great. I'm glad. We can move on. Now, how do you actually go about showing? So, you know that questionnaire that you had to fill out that might have been painful for some of you? How many of you guys found that difficult? Anyone?
Which one?
The questionnaire that you had to submit before attending the workshop, where you wrote about yourself in detail. Did you guys find that hard?
No.
No, it wasn't hard at all. Okay.
It was just like challenging because I had to like think beyond, like, I just think a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not stuff like I just like normally think about. So I'd actually like be like, oh, that's my best moment. Like I didn't just know it off the top of my head.
Yeah, definitely. It requires like a bit of personal sort of in-depth analysis, reviewing your life experiences, right? Things like that, which frankly speaking, as a student, you guys are so busy with school and day-to-day activities that you probably don't have the time to sit down and be like, okay, when was the moment where I can really identify where I truly learned something that fascinated me, or is there a moment in time where I really felt like I developed and grew as a person, etc. I understand. So it's really important, and this is why I don't know how many of you guys actually did this. Did everybody make notes on their questionnaire responses and any patterns or things that stood out to them? And has everybody done that? I'm taking that as a no.
I did it. Yeah.
Well done, Ananya. Great. Okay. Anyone else? Only Ananya? Imad, Nareen? Samia? No. Molly?
No.
Not yet. Okay. So it's really important for you, actually. You guys need to actually, even if you're like, I know what I want to write about, still go through your questionnaire, right? Go through all of your responses, right? And it's important for you to also look through certain, like, if you see things being repeated, what does that tell you? Anyone? Imad? If you see something repeated in your questionnaire, what does that tell you?
Something, a recurring theme.
Yeah, yes, it's a recurrent theme, of course. But what does it actually tell you? Anyone?
Maybe that you should write about it. Like
Perhaps. Yeah, perhaps it's important, right? I think it's important for you to just remember, right? When you're responding to questions like this, you are evaluating kind of deeply things that matter to you, experiences that have been quite, important. If there are general themes being repeated, it could be something important. Maybe you want to write about it, right? It's just an option. And then once you do that, right, you can start figuring out, okay, so these are some things that stand out to me, right? Now, how can I actually pick a subject, right, to actually best highlight all the things that I want to convey about my strengths, maybe the failures that I've overcome, the challenges that I've had to, really like rise above from, right? And then you also want to look at, right, how do you actually go from the topic that you want to write about, and how do you actually elaborate on that, right? Are you going to do that through a particular moment, right, that was meaningful to you, that you can expand upon to highlight something that you've learned? Are you going to do that through several different scenes in your life, right? Describing them before coming to what it is that the message that you're going to convey, right? So you want to evaluate, and this is where we're going to be doing that one-on-one with you guys. You want to evaluate how best to go through, right, with presenting the information that you actually think is pivotal to who you are. And something else to consider, I've noticed recently a lot more students connecting their common application sort of topics to what they want to study. Do I think that this is absolutely necessary? No, but it could be enriching and helpful for maybe you and what you have been through, your experiences, right? To kind of connect it to why you want to do what you say you want to do, right? It just helps to keep it aligned. Things just have to make sense, right? It's one thing to be like, I really want to study engineering, and then write about something completely random. And then the admissions officers might just be like, it's not that they won't like it. They'll just be like, oh, okay, great. If it's not on your profile anywhere else, they'll definitely question it, right? So this is where for some students, it might be a good idea to connect things to what their academic interests are, right? Yeah. And then finally, you can start writing once you make these minor decisions. Any questions? No, all pretty straightforward, right? Okay, great. All right, Priyanka, I'll leave it to you.
I think this is where I jump in. Am I correct? Okay, awesome. Now that Amy ends on saying start writing, let me take it on right from there. How do we start writing? All of y'all must be saying, what the hell? How can she just say start writing? If it was so easy, we wouldn't be paying our money to come to attend this silly workshop. But here's what we're going to do. It's very important to know your structure of your essay. And if you know more or less there's an opening hook, there's a closing hook. I love the way an opening hook can connect to the closing hook. Remember, it's 650 stories. You don't want your admissions officer to think that, where did this person start again? They're not going to take the time to read the whole essay again for you. 30 minutes on the tops to read your entire application. Hopefully, on a good day, 4 minutes are reserved for your Common App. You've got to let them feel she is the currency girl or he is the laughing boy, something like that. Those two words that they can go back home with. And that's why your opening hook and your closing hook in some ways are connected. They don't have to be exact, but they have to lead from the same story. Within 650 words, don't try and tell us 3, 4, 5 stories. I love saying this. Find a tiny little piece of your life and dig deeper and deeper to talk about it. Do not, under any circumstances, have too much to talk about. Okay. The middle part is the most crucial part. Your failures, your learnings, your outcomes. None of us like to read essays which say, "Oh, I'm so proud of myself." Would you like to read it? I'm asking you guys. Okay. Do you like watching a movie which is like, oh, the hero is like, all about himself. He doesn't see a failure. Even look at Superman, Spider-Man, Batman. They all have failures, right? That's where they come from. Okay. So quickly, one movie that you'll really like. Talk about the protagonist and the failures. Anyone? Just quickly, jump in. You guys are telling me you all don't like watching movies? There was someone who wrote about Netflix. Naren, jump in.
What I didn't write about Netflix, it wasn't me.
Okay, sorry. Someone else, anyone, any movie.
I think for me, like my favorite movie is The Truman Show. And The
Oh, the
Truman,
Truman Show. There
yeah.
we go. Perfect example.
Yeah, like
Tell
Jim
us.
Carrey, the protagonist, towards the end, like that's his biggest failure because he realizes that his whole life is manufactured.
True. Right? So though it ends in a slightly morbid note, but the truth is that, there are failures and that's why you like someone. Anyone else with any example of failures, learnings and outcomes?
Actually, I have a question. So, what counts as like an outcome?
Oh, interesting question. What even counts as a failure for that matter? Failure doesn't mean you've completely broken down and you have no other way. Failure could be any kind of a drawback, something you weren't prepared for, something you didn't anticipate, something you didn't know how to deal with. From there, how did you learn? And eventually, how did you manage to use that drawback to actually grow into something? To manage to You did an extra course, you managed to start some community service, you managed to understand yourself better, you actually managed to walk better, talk better, improve your own life in academics better. Anything could be an outcome. Okay. Now, generally, children say we have to get the right opening hook before the essay starts. My general idea to all of you will be start with the second area, the failure learning outcome. It's a lot easier. If you know where you struggled, say, okay, I'm passionate about this. Go back to Amy's question. What are you passionate about? What do you care about? Why does it matter to you? And if you start from there and start writing, therefore, this matters to me. Why? How did I struggle because of this? What were the learnings I got? What was eventually the reason why it still matters to me? What have I done about it? And you'll realize once your second area is covered, finding the opening and the closing hook is very, very easy. And if not, we'll be able to do it for you. Okay. Ninat, move on. Jump in with any questions, children. Okay. I've already said it. Don't worry about the first line. Please, I have seen children spend 45 minutes saying, I don't know what to write as my first line. Don't do that. Okay, come to and this was actually Amy's idea, bring yourself to the present moment. And I love it. Today, what still matters to you? So, which is why the best moment, worst moment exercise. If it still matters to you, if it's still a theme in your life, it's important. Let's try and talk about it. Okay. The beauty of the Common App essay is you've got to tear yourself apart. You've got to go deeper. It's not like the typical Indian essays, describe your holiday, describe the room, talk about a story that ends with blah, blah, blah. There's nothing like that. This is describe your heart, describe yourself, describe your introspection is a very important word, I'd say. And how do you do it? You go into the imagery, details. Active voice is a very beautiful way of talking because that's you. Okay. Loop into the next paragraph. Now, your first paragraph can't be about art as a therapy. Your second paragraph cannot be about traveling. The third paragraph cannot be about my achievements in machine learning, let's say. Loop into the next paragraph. Never forget, it's a very short story. You are writing to somebody who doesn't even know you. Okay, and has to take a judgment whether you fit into that college, whether that college will love you, whether you will love the college. It's both. It's not just a one way. Okay, so in 650 words, talk only about that little aspect about you, which will make them understand a larger part of you. Okay. So I like to call it like a movie trailer. Your trailer has to be so sharp, so interesting, so honest that they want to watch the rest of the movie. Okay. Questions, jump in. Otherwise, I'm just going to kick on to the next slide. Yeah, we are all clear about the opening hook. In essence, don't focus on the opening hook is what I'm going to try and say. Okay, Ninad, next. Okay, the must-haves. Values. You've got to have your values, which is why Amy asked you all to do that exercise. The form looks really random. It has 10, 12 different questions. But if you read through it, you'll see one core aspect of you seeming to come up. You've got to be able to consider that. Okay. How do you do it? You like I said, scar yourself, open yourself, introspect. Vulnerability is a very integral word to me. If you're not showing your vulnerability in your essay, somewhere the essay has not been able to show you at all. So the whole exercise that these admissions officers and colleges have done to pull up these prompts is lost. Okay. And my eternal favorite, show, not tell. If you've got to tell me, I did so well in class, I came first, useless. If you can tell me that by studying biology, I realized the importance of the anatomy, I went back to my internship and did da 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 da, you're showing me how you're a good student. That's very, very crucial. Okay, never forget this. Every paragraph that you write, when you go back to it, ask yourself, am I showing it or am I telling it? If you're telling it, you probably need to edit it. Okay, focus on your style and tone. Be very careful. Everyone has a different style. Everyone has a different tone. Try and maintain it and try and not go very informal or very formal. At the end of the day, the person reading your essay could be anyone. Asian, African, American, Israeli, Jewish. I know one of the children who in Columbia University insisted, and because it was really strong and important to her, she wanted to talk about the Jewish and the Palestinian war. And she had an opinion about it. She had a side on it. And we kept telling her, it's not the best of idea because you don't know who's reading your essay. So you could be pro whoever. The other person could actually be that race. They're not going to like it. So we're very, very particular when you take topics like India-Pakistan or Turk and Greek war. And I was reading a book, I was just telling Amy about it, The Island of Missing Trees, which is the Turk and the Greek war. And there's so much of fighting between the man and the woman who love each other because they're from different backgrounds. And they talk about baklava and they fight. They talk about a tree and they fight. It's very beautiful, but it's just that two people in love can still be fighting. The admission officer is not in love with you yet. So be very careful. Focus on your style and tone. Okay, questions? Cool. Ninad, we'll move on. All of
One
us
second,
know
Priyanka. I just had a
Yes.
thought. I just want to stress the importance of some things that Priyanka had said. It is really important, guys, because what happens is a lot of students, especially if they're writing their first few drafts, which is what you'll be doing, right? They write with their brains and not with their hearts. And I know it sounds strange, but within the first few minutes of reading your essay, I will know if you're writing with your brain, if you're writing with your heart. And you need to do more of this than this, because this is what you do in school all day, right? When you're writing with your brain, when you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I make myself sound sophisticated, refined? How do I make it sound like I'm, or if I'm somebody who really can show my intellectual capacities, right? That's not what the Common App essay actually is about. So it is really important. I'm going to stress the importance of being open and vulnerable, right? Definitely. Yes, we can go on.
Which probably also means, Amy, and if I can add, your first few drafts are not for anyone else, it's for you. Okay, so expose yourself and allow us to take the liberty then to help you then develop it to a story where you shine. If the college admissions officer loves you, you're meant to be in that college. Okay, if not, it's okay. But you have got to be able to expose yourself. So explore your heart. It's very important. What not to do, it's really, I mean, it's very basic. I will still say language and content, be very careful. Making it like a resume, oh my God, I would say 60% of the children who first write their drafts have made it like a resume. Okay. if it is going to show in your academics, if it's going to show in your activities, if it's going to show in your letters of recommendation from the school, you probably don't need to talk about it. But borrow from one aspect of it and make it deeper and detailed. Remember the tiny slice of life. Your school letter may say, brilliant student, absolutely loves computer science and has helped us create an app for school. So you can then start from there. Loved computer science. How did I go about making the app? Why did I want to make the app? How did I fail? How did it eventually help? And what do I want to learn from that app? That's fine. That's not a resume. It shows that an app has been built, but it doesn't show the whole process of building the app. Okay. A volunteer. Okay, kids, you're in India. Okay. I have met so many admissions officers who laugh every time they pick up an Indian essay because they're like, oh, let me guess. It's going to be about changing the whole world with their volunteering. Be very careful. Tone that down. Okay. If you've not really, so I'll tell you about our Wharton student. Okay. She worked in a nonprofit when she was in grade 9. She realized that the girls absolutely don't come because of the various problems they have. If they have period days, they're not going to come. If, they've been beaten up or their mother's been beaten up, they're not going to come. So she realized she wanted to do something entirely different from the girls. They were also very conscious of the boys because of, an undertone of the boys saying, oh, we're more superior, we're working, we're smarter, we're physically. So she created she wanted to. They didn't let her. So she said, oh, you know what? I'll create my own nonprofit for them. She started working on her nonprofit, failed miserably because in India, you're not allowed to start. She got her mother to start it. And then the pandemic broke down and she said, how do I teach them now? So she went to Reliance and literally stood outside for 15 days, every day for an hour, saying, can you give me your used phones? They finally threw it on her and said, just go, get lost. And from there, she started this nonprofit, worked on it. She got the Diana Award. She got 2 other awards. She got the letter of recommendation from the people who said, we won't help you make it. The government actually acknowledged that, we should have been more careful. Sure, she got into Wharton. Sure, her essay was about volunteering. But I'm just trying to tell you, you've gone for 3 days, you've helped your mom and dad, or, you've done something like that. That shouldn't be your Common App essay. Be very careful. Okay. Is it your story? I know your parents have achieved a lot. Your brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunt, your grandfather who died. But this is not about them. They're not the ones going to college or even being invited to come to college. So you can start from somewhere, but eventually it has to be your story to tell. If I can't highlight a quality about you in every single paragraph, almost every line, it's someone else's story to speak then. Any thoughts, children? That's a lot I have thrown on you so far. Amy, any adds to the not to do's?
No, I think you've covered up most of them.
So now we'll move on. I think we're on our last. The closing hook. This is where the happy ending is. So I've seen a lot of children circling, we've spoken about. I've seen a lot of children, they're exhausted because they're tired, they've written too much of word counts, and they just end by saying, and so I want to be in college because of this reason. No, it doesn't work like that. They are going to read your closing hook. They're still waiting to decide. So you can't say, oh, they've read 643 words. Now, why are the last 7 words important? It is. And again, bring the main message. Remember, you've got to leave them with those 2 or 3 critical words to take home. It's a very human process. There's no one else reading your essays but a human. They're also reading 10 to 20,000 other essays, okay, in that brief period of time. They've got to know who you are at the end of the day, because after reading the 650 words, they're not going to say, I don't know what he or she is trying to say here, really. Okay, leave an impact. They have to, and that's something which is why the whole peer and a mentor is important. We want to know, I want to meet you or not, is very important. Okay, so the vulnerability brings the likability. I think I'd like to say that. Okay. The pride, the tell, the show off doesn't bring vulnerability, doesn't bring likability. So with that, let's move on. Ninad, next. Okay, super. You all know our contact details. It's all going to be there for you. But with this now, I think what we're going to do is, it's now your time to speak. We've pulled up case studies for you, which are real, which are very honest. And you've got each one of those case studies with you. So we're going to discuss it. Let's do this in an alphabetical format. So each case study, first we'll have Anaya, then Imad, then Maulik, then Naren, and then finally Soumya give their take on it. What is the take that we want from you? What do you think should be the story of that student and why? Try and utilize all the aspects that Amy and I have given you. Let's keep it crisp because each case study is not going to be more than 10 minutes. So we're going to divide it to give each one of you a 2-minute talk time. Please, children, remember this is very confidential, okay? Because some child has opened their heart to talk about it. You absolutely cannot discuss this, not with your parents, not with anyone. Okay, are we clear about this? Okay, great. Amy, do you want the case study to be here while we're discussing?
Yeah, that would be great. Exactly.
Okay, so Ninad, will you please bring that up? The first case study.
And I also just want to reiterate that the reason why we're doing this is actually so that you guys also get through a more peer-to-peer level of an objective analysis of what peers think that you should be writing about, right? What did they think stands out amongst all the points that you've written here? So it'll just be interesting for all of you to keep note of this as well, not from your personal perspective, from somebody else's.
Nina, do you want to raise it a bit so a little more of the case study can, yeah, perfect. Remove that as well. So we know this is a biochemistry, so just remove that as well, Nina. Yeah, I believe, perfect. Since you all have it, we will start with Anaya.
I think the first case study can talk about like how the student wants to voice out their opinions on everything, because it begins with like how he or she likes to express themselves and speak in public settings, and then after that the violation whistles for rape. So maybe like speaking and like voicing your opinion and expressing yourself and what you stand for. So maybe they can talk about that.
So what do you think is important to this person?
I think, yeah, like I said, like expressing yourself and voicing your opinions under every situation. So maybe like the essay can focus on maybe the whistles for rape or any other situation where they voice their opinion. And like then through that, like through one incident, like they can highlight other values to them, like hard work and confidence.
I love that. I think that's a great analysis.
Absolutely, I agree. Next one. You guys know your alphabetical order, so just take on.
Something that's...
Ninad, no, we're still on the same case. All the 5 are going to talk about that case.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that stood out to me here was, I think there is a feeling of being able to find yourself amongst your family, and given the sacrifices they have made and just that you're an overachiever. I think a lot of this comes with finding your place amongst that setting and being able to truly be yourself, open up and voice your opinions. So I think that to me is what stands out through this song.
Thank you, Imad.
So I feel that in this, one of the things that stood out was the preventing the rape in Mumbai through whistles, which actually stood out a lot to me. And the other thing was about how she voices her opinions despite having a family of achievers, so overachievers. So I think that's something that I looked at.
Very nice. Mhm. You guys are good.
And there's a definite trend towards, if you see, we all, when we speak, we seem to have a pattern as well. So that's very interesting. Naren?
Yeah, so as everyone else said, like one thing that stands out about this person is that like that they're passionate about expressing their opinion, and not just that, but they also have a vulnerability there. They're afraid of doing it in a formal audience, right? So they can probably emphasize on the growth they had from trying to overcome that.
I really like the way you heard us and brought out a point, to be fair, Narena. I'm quite happy about that. Amy, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't just about that, it was also about highlighting the vulnerability. I agree.
Yeah. Soumya?
I think to me what stood out was like using the whistles to like as a way to voice your opinion, and like the whistles being the form of your voice, and like expressing, like for the person to express themselves when they feel like they can't, like the whistle's a place for them to do that.
Very nice, like a metaphor. I like that.
Beautiful. So anyone? Amy, did you want to add anything to the case, or do we want to move on?
No, let's move on. We'll tell them.
Yeah, cool. So case study 2, please, Nina. Biopsychology and healthcare. Okay. And we'll start with Anaya.
I think for this case, I think like the art book stood out to me because like it's very personal to the person, and also like I think it's like a really good way to express yourself and also look at one thing from a different, like from many different lenses. Like look at art as a way of like healing and mindfulness. And so I think that's what stood out to me.
So something that stood out to me through this is just this person is clearly like values happiness and just being able to be themselves. I think that comes very strongly throughout this whole case. So I think yeah, it's just like being able to be yourself and being able to have that positive impact and like have a very like being kind and like having a genuine need to like help others and spread that happiness. I think that's what comes through this.
Fair.
So apart from all of that, I think one of the things that I actually focused on was the person being a risk taker, because when you talk about jumping over a cliff and overcoming fear is one of the things that you can also look at, because that's something that you wouldn't want to do or wouldn't even think of doing, but you actually ended up doing despite, the kind of feelings that you had in the moment.
Definitely.
Interesting take. Very interesting take. Okay. Who's next? Naren?
Yeah, so this person looks like they have a positive attitude themselves, and they also want to spread that through mindfulness and art. And that's something that stands out to me in like their response.
I think to me what stood out was like the contrast between like getting completely like immersed in your work and then like taking risks and like jumping off like a cliff. I think like it shows like two like like very different extremes, and then maybe the person could talk about something in the middle, like finding a place in the middle or something like that.
Great. I think, Samia, what you've done that I think all of you will get to do is to look at the bigger picture, right? So when you're looking over a lot of information, it's not just about the nitty gritty of the details of what the person's or what you think is important. Taking a step back and saying, okay, is there a theme here? Is there a way that I can present this that would be a little bit different from telling them exactly about this particular detail? right? Is it the contrast, right? And you only can do that after that, looking through all of them, right? From a wider lens.
Beautiful. I mean, you kids are doing what we've asked you to do, and go back to the question, who am I? What do I want when you read the case study again? Okay. And then try and do once again the whole view and see what goes. Case study 3, Nanad.
I think for me, like two things stood out to me, like from this application. The first one was the animals. Like I think it can be just a good essay in itself, like from stuffed toys to heading or conservation. So it just shows the whole spectrum of like that passion, and it shows how it built up. And the second thing is the interest, like is the passion for math, like the way the student described it. I think that just shows that he or she is like really passionate about the subject. So maybe they can answer that prompt. What subject you get completely immersed that you lose track of time. So I think those two.
Yeah. So I think something very similar, but I also think that this person has like a lot of interests and is like very diverse in what this person pursues. I think there is so something recurring is obviously animals, but then you also have math, and then on the flip side, you also have things like economics. I think this person is just very open to new opportunities. That's just what comes.
According to me, this person is really talented, but one of the things that stood out apart from having animals was the fact that despite the fact that he was a swimmer and that he could have actually become a national swimmer, going through the entire trauma of not being able to swim anymore is something that you could possibly learn from, but he still didn't give up, and he's still doing something really big for the head of conservation at the Nature Protection Society. So I think that's something that stands out for him.
So for me, what stands out is that like obviously this person knows a lot about like many different fields. And what's most impressive is that this person is able to tie together like the knowledge from like completely different areas and then use that to like create a good product. So like for wildlife conservation, they created a blue carbon toolkit. So I think that that's something that shows like um, their ability to connect knowledge from different areas and like use that to fulfill their passion.
Very critically known in the essay world as intellectual curiosity or intellectual vitality. Very important to almost all admissions officers. You have the privilege of education. What have you done with the education? Have you used it to bring it to someone else? Is very important, especially to colleges like Stanford. Soumya?
Yeah. For me, what stood out was that like even after like the accident the person had while swimming, he didn't just like the person didn't just like give up and say that, oh, like my first passion didn't work out, so I don't want to do anything else. Like the person persisted and found other passions and explored his talents further in different aspects.
Interesting. Anyone wants to add anything? Amy, do you want us to move on to the next one?
Yeah, I think we can move on.
I think what stood out to me from this essay was the students' love for the violin and like for music and performance. Maybe they can talk about that and also connect it. Like they also spoke about, I mean, computer science and the PACT, yeah. So maybe they can combine like logic and reasoning and music in some way to like showcase their passions and also like their intellectual vitality, like you said.
Yeah, so I think what stands out to me is that this person is very, very passionate about the things he does, may it be violin or just his love for machine learning. I think this person is someone who like fully immerses himself in anything he does, and I think that is something that stands out to me, being very passionate and ambitious.
So according to me, I mean, he is very passionate and he's a very hard worker and he wouldn't give up on things that he really likes doing. And that's something that I took from everything. And so as to what his mom or some parent spoke about him and about how he actually knows his stuff and that he's really knowledgeable. So I think that's something that stands.
So I hear all of you here that he's hardworking, he's passionate, given. But can we tell that? If we can't tell that, how do you think it should be shown? Is a question that that needs to be identified here.
Yeah, I think that's a little more difficult to answer.
This
But
is a tricky one. When you know these kids are passionate, you know they have a lot going for them. These are the tricky ones because these are the ones that end up doing the show, not doing the tell not show more than often. So that, did anyone want to grab in to show how a show can be done, or we can move
yeah,
to the next? Yeah, Naya.
Maybe like the comment from the parents, like how they have rough notebooks and not really written stuff. Maybe they can talk about like how they value like freedom and spontaneity over structure. Maybe they can like highlight that. So maybe they can start with the description of a notebook that's shabby, and then how they top their class towards the end and show like how, because I mean for me, like I'm very different. Like I need structure and I write neatly. So maybe like a lot of people are like that and a lot of people are not. So maybe they can like focus on that because that's very interesting, at least for me.
I like that.
that
That's
that,
an
that is the
Mhm.
kind of validity that we want, where you pick up something and say, okay, this could be an opening hook. So fair. Anyone else? Imad, Molin?
Uh, Adding on to what Anaya said, like with the whole messy notebooks, it reminds me of the prompt of like completely immersing yourself in something, and like how he did, like the person just completely immerse himself in like whatever he seems to be doing. And I think that like the prompt and just the person in general would just go really well together.
Beautiful. So I think someone is left. Who's left? Naren, you want to jump in?
Um, yeah, I think the point that like Anaya made about this person's notebook, like being messy, like disorganized, kind of shows that like this person is like spontaneous and understands things like just they're immersed in what they're hearing, and like so that's why they don't like probably take the time to like write it
True.
down, and so they end up creating a stockpile of knowledge and like connections between what they learn, which is what might help them like actually do well.
Oh, I love that soft pile of knowledge. If I may, Amy, this is what she meant when she says imagery. She's
Mhm.
very big, a soft pile of knowledge, and you can literally feel that,
See
that
it.
whole
Yeah.
messy papers on your head. That's a very beautiful line. That's what I meant, that this is how an essay flows in. You just get that one line that makes you start. Beautiful. We can move to the case 5, which is our final case. Yeah. Okay, so undecided. So we can just remove the major and the rest then. Yeah, perfect.
I think for this one, I think a recurring theme is bullying, and how the student got bullied and then how they use their experience to help other people and like file like petitions and also like make a podcast and do other things like the outcome that we were speaking about before. So they can talk about their own like vulnerability and then the outcome and how they helped other people, or they can even talk about like their sailing experience because that's unique. um and maybe like, I mean, I'm not so sure how to tie it into a prompt, but just like talk about that as a whole.
Yeah. So what I think is pretty interesting is how you could possibly use their experiences sailing as a metaphor to your experiences in life and bullying as well. Because I think there is that the sailing and the hardships you have felt can be related to his hardships with bullying, and then how it is a journey that matters. Because I think that is something that is stressed here as well. Like there is no destination, but it's just that process of getting there. I think that could be the way you tie both these experiences. Yeah.
Very good. I love that pick.
I mean, according to me, I think that he's focused a lot on bullying, and that is the recurring theme everywhere. But he also, I think, talks about, I mean, the main points that you could possibly remove is something that's unique is probably sailing or the life experiences that trekking has possibly taught him.
I agree. And here in a case, we almost begging to differ. So it's a recurring theme, but the recurring theme is what's caused a recurrence of so many other things. So is it necessary to talk about the recurring theme is a question here, because there's just so much that's built out of that something that it's become small now. So, very valid point, which is why anything we say is more or less a to-do can't always be a to-do. Naren?
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of this person's life and like values has been defined by how they were bullied. And you can also see their strength of character, instead of like completely breaking down when it happened, they actually like found a way out by helping other people as well. Like using their learning, like not just academic learning, but also like you know um,
Life learning.
yeah, life learning and their presentation. Like, so to be able to start a podcast, like they picked up a presentation skills, and they were able to like really put that to good use for the benefit of others.
Okay, next.
I think to me, what just mainly stands out is like the person's determination. It's like no matter what he went through, he just tried to stay as strong as he could. And like I think that determination stayed with him through his other experiences, just to like be able to complete anything he put his mind to and try to accomplish anything he wanted to.
Very fun. I like that, to complete more than anything, the whole determination to complete, to take it to an end. Amy?
Yeah, no, I think all of you guys actually really understood based off of the presentation and the few things that we pointed out on Common App essays and the details that we're looking for, the showing, not telling, the imagery that's required. I think all of you identified the main recurrent themes and potential stories that each case study student could actually base their essay off of. So honestly, really, I'm impressed. Well done, everybody. I think all of you kind of understand, right, what the Common App essay is actually about. Like what are we looking for? What questions do we really need to look at and answer? And how do we identify values and things that actually make me stand out, right? What are some lessons that I've learned that I really want to highlight? So really well done, everybody. I think we can, yeah. Do you guys have any questions right now, actually?
Hey, Nad, you can shut the screen share, because then we can see each other a little bigger now. Perfect.
Any questions? No.
I'll tell you what we're doing next, but there's a lot that you guys have put out into this case study. There's a lot we put into our presentation. So if there are any questions, any concerns, let's bring it up, because then we're moving to the next stage, which is a more one-on-one. Okay, here's what we're going to do now. Now, this is a very tricky one. Amy and I chose to not sit down and do our analysis together on each one of you. We chose to do it different, which means we could be contrasting, contradicting, or the same. We haven't discussed it. So when we do our next session with you, which is going to be a one-on-one, and we're always going to go alphabetical, we will actually, let's go the other way around, because then Soumya, because you're US, we'll start with you, beta. So you get that 15 minutes first. But we're going to tell you what she thinks should be the essay, what I think would be the essay. And it may be totally different. We'll discuss it. We'll try and see what should be the center of it. How do we help you address it, the opening and the closing hook. And then I think as our, Ninad, if you could read it out, I think we're giving you a couple of hours or an hour to write it. Where is it? Okay, so you are going to, we'll do this. Then your writing begins and you get off the Zoom and you start writing. 2 o'clock we meet again, okay? In the meantime, remember you have Amy and me available to you. Any questions you have, put it on the WhatsApp, or if you need a separate call with us, just say, Amy, can I have a quick call with you? Or Priyanka, can I have a quick call with you? And we'll connect immediately. Are we clear? We are not disappearing. You can call us 20 times. That's fine.
Yeah, we're at your service.
We're right here. If you want to do it on Zoom, if you want both of us, we'll just get back onto the Zoom and we'll do this call with you. Okay? But you are not to do anything else for that 1.5 hours but write. That's a conditional promise you have to make to us. Okay, are we clear? So what we're going to do is we're going to keep, who's A? Oh, sorry, we're going to keep Soumya here. The rest of you are logging off, but Ninad will message next one's name, come on. Please come on immediately. Okay, so do not say, oh, I didn't know, I thought 15 minutes, so I disappeared. It could take 5 minutes to 15 minutes. Okay, so don't disappear, please. Are we clear on this, everyone? Sounds good?
Yeah.
Awesome. So the rest of you, please log off and we'll have Soumya on the call, and Ninad, you will inform, and then let's go by the same opposite order. So we're going to have Naren come on next then. Sounds good? Ninad, you've understood?
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
Got it. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you each in a bit. Soumya, you've got to stay with us.
Yeah.
Hey, Soumya.
Hi.
How was that? Did you like that? I think that you did really well in all of the case study analysis.
Yeah, I thought it was just interesting to see what everyone else thought, like me.
Was it interesting for you to hear what the other students had to say about yours?
Yeah, it was actually pretty similar to what I thought I might go off, but it gave me like a sort of a different perspective.
Good.
Amy, you want to go first with her?
Yeah, sure. So Soumya, after reading through your questionnaire, definitely, as the other students had said, things that stood out to me were the fact that you did, you founded your anti-rape organization, and in that you also created or distributed violation whistles. I think that's actually something that's quite an interesting feat. And the fact that I think you are somebody who really does voice your opinions, right? You are somebody who is fearless about that, especially within your family. I think being able to maybe use that as a metaphor would be great, right? Now, the interesting thing here, the caveat is that when you're writing about, I guess, like the whistle through metaphor, I would say just you want to be quite mindful because, again, talking about rape and, you know,
it might be a sensitive topic.
Yeah, and on top of that, like violence against women in general is a really touchy subject. So the way you write about working with the organization and the females or potential victims, you definitely want to be writing about it from a point of strength, not so much from a point of weakness. And how in the world did you even identify, you know, this? Why did you choose to start your own anti-rape organization, right? So I guess
I have a question. Does, like, considering this is probably also going to be like a big part of like my resume in general, does it count as like a big repetition to also talk about it in my essay, or should I focus on something else for the essay so that it doesn't seem like a repetition of like ideas?
So this is the interesting thing. A lot of students ask this, and I think the reason why for you, I think this would work is because I want to know why you chose this particular cause. Like, I don't know if that'll be very clear in your LORs or other parts of your application. The LORs would probably say that you are somebody who's a feminist, who's got strong values, but this essay hopefully will also highlight your journey, right, into becoming and blossoming into this strong woman who also wants to help victims of violence and whatnot, right? So that's the part that hopefully you'll be highlighting a little bit more than what you have done, right? So it's about the journey, not so much like the product, if that makes any sense. We're using the whistle as a metaphor for your, I guess, to introduce your story and finding your voice in the process, right? Yeah, so that's what I would say. I also really like the fact that actually in your questionnaire, you mentioned that your mom went back to get her master's. So I think, I know, and like you, obviously Priyanka, you're very close to your mom. So I just think that highlighting, again, strong women who go after, like, you know, what they value, what they believe in, is definitely a theme here, right? And I think it's quite prominent in your questionnaire when I read through it.
Amy, would you like me to jump in now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Soumya, also because I know you in a personal manner, I know the strong women that come as a story of your life. Okay. Now, in my mind, I was thinking this essay could actually start with the incident you wrote about. My second best moment was recently after my final exams got over. We wanted to get rid of all the stress that we built over 2 months. So we went for a drive. We went up to the sunroof and just screamed our lungs out to old music that we hadn't listened for a while and just enjoyed it. It felt like a moment of freedom. I thought it was so powerful. If that then connects with what rape women actually go through, they've completely lost their freedom. They've completely even lost that voice to scream. And, you know, to be able to find that, like that moment of, if I may say, juxtapose here of what is freedom and what is freedom to them. And thus how important it was for you to have built it up from seeing the women in your family. So that was even something I felt. So it's very important to say, why did you found this? How did you decide to do the whistles? Who helped you? Who didn't help you? How did you feel? You know, it's something that in the unsafe situation, everyone talks about that spray and all of that. Why did you think it was a whistle? I also know your story behind the whistle, where the whistle's quality is such a way that it's loud enough to be heard, and, you know, all of that. And I love the way you speak about, I never imagined myself to be in a leadership position. So we're actually speaking about someone like you who, it's very comforting to grow up with a surrounding women who are so strong, to suddenly be thrown into a situation where none of the women are strong and you had to take on the path of being strong. You know, and I think I like that story, that whole comfort factor, cushy life. It was, you know, I know mom's there, I know grandmom's there, I know someone's there, I know bro is there, to reach a situation when no one's there.
Yeah.
You had to take on.
I like that. I just am going to, again, stress the importance of being very sensitive, because we do not, I mean, they are victims, but we don't want them to be portrayed as if they are powerless. Yes, they have gone through an immense amount of trauma, pain,
I think instead of
suffering.
talking about the fact that they're powerless, I think we can talk about the strength that they have after for just being able to stand up.
Yeah. It's
like
about
how
like
I could stand
you,
up on the rooftop,
and then they
and
can,
like, on the sunroof, they can stand up in
correct,
general. Like, not that that's the
Draw-
same thing, but in general,
No,
just
but-
standing out.
Yeah, exactly. But it's an opening hook because, no one knows what
Correct.
the essay is going to become.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
agree. I stand corrected here because while we are writing, we're thinking about their weaknesses, but hopefully more to show it as their strength. So I agree on
Yeah.
that. But it clearly, Soumya, I think what Amy and I, without any discussion, have both realized this is what we want you to talk about.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
we don't have two different topics for you. We have the same
Yeah,
topic.
but the same one. Correct.
So
And I really like that as a hook. I think that it's brilliant. And if you can draw that parallel, like you just said, Samya, of like you being on the rooftop, standing strong, and them also standing strong wherever they are with their whistles, like awesome.
yeah, that whole standing tall. So it's a beautiful opening and closing hook right there.
Yeah.
So the rest of the part, here's now something you asked us, Soumya. What does your resume show? It'll show you started this, you built
Mhm.
it, you spread so many whistles, and you supported so many women. Mostly that.
But it
Or
doesn't show the emotion.
And the journey, right? And like why you chose to start this of all different kinds of organizations and causes you could actually support, right? Why did you choose to create your own organization against rape in particular? Right? Why is that personal? And I think that's where your story will really shine.
And a lot of times your children are insecure that, oh, but how will they know my love for biochemistry? You have a whole space called the additional information. You want it, you can show it there. But also remember, numbers are easier to show on your resume, on your letter of recommendation, on your academics. This is not easy to show. So go deeper into the day, why you started it, what made you start it, how did you co-found it? All of that is very crucial. So when you start writing now, write that whole story and then try and see if you can build that whole, the lungs standing on the rooftop, because I do come down to, them standing on the rooftop with that whistles, screaming their lungs, whatever you want. Sounds
So I
good?
just have to write a,
Questions?
yeah, I have to write a first draft, right? For 650 words.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Oh.
there's no word count here. Write whatever comes to you. Just even if it's 800 words, even if it's 400 words, don't worry about that. Just start writing is the key here.
Mm-hmm. Get your thoughts down on paper, or sorry, on your laptop.
And question, what's happening at 2? Because I'm just scared I'll fall asleep if I finish writing earlier.
Oh, we're going to be reviewing your work basically
Okay, then it's very important.
and give you pointers. So if you finish writing before and then fall asleep, maybe just set an alarm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, beta, but now that we are here, we may as well complete it. It's 2 days of no sleep. Let's try and do it.
That's okay. I was just asking it. I feel like.
And then post that, you have to use the rest of your day to write the whole essay and send it to us.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Soumya, take 2 minutes, think of other questions. Otherwise, you can keep messaging us, remember, on the group, saying, I need a call. But you want 2 minutes to breathe, think about in your mind, form the story, and ask us. We're in no hurry.
Yeah,
So this
exactly.
doesn't have to be like to a specific prompt right now. Right?
No,
Or
no.
do I have to
No. I hope this is clear, but I'll explain it again with each student. But I generally don't actually write to answer a prompt. I generally want you to write your story, and it will invariably fit a prompt. It will, especially because we've got problems.
And then if we need to make little changes here and there, ask you questions, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Please don't try and fit in. Don't be the square to circle approach yet.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
just have it there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Soumya.
Thank you.
Ninad, we are ready for the next. So just get them on the wait list, please. But don't add them till Amy and I say yes.
Yeah.
Amy, I'm just going to use the loo and grab some water and meet you here for the second student.
Yeah, I'm also going to use blue.
You're okay with this? I think both of us ended up saying the same thing. I have highlighted what you've written as well. So,
Yeah.
there's no confusion later.
Great.
You know,
I think they
child-
did so well. They did so well in the case studies. I was like, wow, right.
Wow.
They,
Yeah. I mean,
they
I was
really
really
understood.
impressed.
They really
must have
understood.
read it, because otherwise it's impossible to do it.
Yeah.
And it was nice. They saw themselves suddenly from a different perspective, and they all ended up speaking about it.
Yeah, exactly, which is great. No, that was awesome.
Yeah. Perfect.
Is Noreen joining, or shall we go to the, also going to go to the loo.
Oh, let's just use the loo and then quickly meet
Yeah.
for Noreen. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get Noreen in the waiting room.
Thank you.
The mic's on. The mic's on.
Also, Nibranch, once you've added the, also Ninal, once you've added Nibranch and the name of the call, Nibranch and Krishna both bodies to speak and ask and say I'm in a workshop. But ask what they need. Can you do me a favor? Can you tell Ramchandra to give me my bottle as well? Okay, I'm ready. Is Amy there?
Yes, I'm
Awesome.
also ready.
Ninad, can you add?
Alarm, ma'am?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi, Naren.
Hi, Noreen. How are you?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm good.
Did you enjoy the case study and the presentation?
Yeah, I think it was actually pretty insightful.
What
Yeah,
did
I
you
think you did
feel?
great.
Yeah. Yeah, some of your comments were so bang on. What did you like about your own case study? Did you like any particular students' take on it?
Yeah, actually, like, I think Anaya's take on it was insightful. I wouldn't have thought of that as important, but yeah, she helped me see like that aspect of me stands out.
Yeah. And it's so ironical, Amy, I'll go first here. It's exactly
go
what
for
I've
it.
written. I
Oh,
wrote
really?
to him. I wrote, I'd love to, start like the scattered all over,
Mhm.
with books everywhere and all of that, to boil down to, something like in an active way that he just knows everything because it's all there. It doesn't need to be there. So I literally started with the rough notes and the rough books myself.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's a great image.
So here's, because I've started, let me just tell you what I felt, Naren. There's a very important difference between your common app essay and the additional information essay. So I like to think that your resume, your additional information can talk about the course, the Rajiv Gandhi, the UPenn, the Rutgers, the combinatorics, all of that could be a part of your additional information essay. In my mind, what I would like to see in a common app essay is actually a line that your father wrote, and I almost loved it. It says Naren would be fully active till he fell asleep and then gets up and starts playing with the same toy as if he hadn't slept in between. I love that line. I love that, it's something so unique that, and there's such a vivid image to that, you've slept with a toy, you've woken up and you've started playing right bang. It shows the alertness that you go with. And I love that alertness, if it could be built into your essay, that the whole there's a rough book, there is notes, it's empty, it's shabby, there's Pokemon, there's everything around your room, and then you fall off to sleep and you just start from there. You didn't need to be organized because in your mind everything is there. So that was one of the options I had. Unfortunately, I have two options. My other one is the violin. You speak about there are infinite notes that can be played on the violin because it has continuous strings. It makes it more difficult, but a lot more powerful. I almost felt as though you're describing yourself here, Naren. There are infinite strings that can make you so difficult to understand, but yet so powerful a tool, once you've grabbed what you want to do. So those are the two essays that I liked, because that whole string of music is like an emotion to you. And there's so many emotions that you've been played on. Obviously, you saw a divorce very early. Your father's very spiritual. You and your sister have learned to live with it. So I don't want it to be a sobby essay because you're nothing sobby. There's so much about you. But I like that whole string of instruments and the oscillation and the modulation of notes that you speak about between violin and Carnatic music. And if we could kind of blend that with you today. So you speak about one such rag or one such string you're playing to talk about one such emotion of your life and how you dealt with it too. So I'll give you an example of one of my students who's now in Carnegie Mellon. She's a swimmer. She's a national level swimmer. And she speaks about every stroke. So the breaststroke is like chemistry. The freestyle is like math. And it's very beautiful because when she's doing the freestyle, she says, oh, the hand in, that it's like the equal position, which is how everything in math has to be. At the end of the day, there has to be something equal to something. And I absolutely loved her essay. And I felt you have the ability to make it sound like that. There was another kid of ours who was a tabla player, and he's at Penn or finished at Penn now. And he speaks about, the tabla as a method and instrument of his, he felt there was a roaring in his head all the time, but could it become music, and how he converted it into music. So those are the two ideas I had for your essay. Those were mine. Amy, you share yours.
Yeah.
Basically, like you want, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Please, beta, your chance to
Yeah,
talk. Yeah.
so your second idea is about like using music as an analogy to describe myself.
Yes.
Yeah. I really like
something of you. Sorry, Amy, continue. Yeah.
No, yeah, I really like their second choice. The first one, I definitely maybe missed that, or I maybe glazed over it. But the first point that you made about what his dad had mentioned about him. I really like that as a starting point. That would be really beautiful to describe. I actually wrote down because of similar to what Priyanka had said, like, talking about the infinite strings of the violin, right? I also thought you could use that as a metaphor to describe an aspect of you. It could be you as a whole now that we're talking, but I thought you could maybe use it to describe how you also see machine learning or CS as music, right? So kind of like drawing parallels between the two. How for you, right, violin is a certain activity, right, that you get lost and immersed in, just in the same way as like machine learning or CS or combinatorics, any aspect really of CS that you could really draw parallels with as music. So both of these are through the language of music, you're describing certain passions, right? So that's kind of what I'd written for you.
Okay, so the other one was actually more to show that within the messiness, there's a clear clarity. So that was the essay, my first one, Amy. So we started with that the whole idea being the room is all messy, there's toys, there's books, there's scattered information. And then he's just, he wakes up to know it all anyway. So that's how that story was going to be. And that story obviously builds to his ability, like his father says, an encyclopedia of knowledge. Like he just knows stuff, be it Pokemon or anything else, Carnatic music to machine learning. So it's just a whole know stuff.
Like a wild range of subjects and activities that that could also work. Naren, like, what do you prefer?
Exactly. Oh, we have to discuss, Naren, you've already written an essay which you shared with us.
Right.
Amy, you want to go first because I know you.
Naren, let me just pull it up once more. 1 second. When I first read over your draft, my first impression was it felt a little bit like you were writing an extracurricular essay and not a common application essay. It felt a lot more like you were talking about this particular genre, right? And what you've done with it. And I kind of, what was missing was the storytelling element of it, really. I wanted more metaphor, I wanted more description, I want more imagery. I wanted more, I guess, depth. Yeah, for lack of a better description. I wanted a bit more depth. So that would be my main feedback for you.
I'm going to request Ninad, can you screen share his essay that he sent to us? Because then we can read it together so he understands. Because I obviously also have a similar opinion to you. Ninad?
A minute, ma'am. I'll just open.
Okay, I'm not sure if you could hear me. Ninad and I are in office, so I sometimes scream from the window telling him Ninad, not realizing he's on Zoom with me. Naren, what are you thinking about these two essays? Tell us. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I think they're both good ideas. But like the second one, right off the bat has a structure to it, but I don't know like how I'm going to present the first essay. I'd have to think about that more, but like
So you're saying that you're not quite sure how you'd start the first topic that Priyanka had presented. Okay. Well, I think that what she had said, Priyanka, right, is that you'd be describing a setting of like you being a certain age with like Pokemon on the floor or whatever, and maybe like some scattered notebooks that were empty, and then the scene of like you falling asleep, and then within a few minutes waking up and carrying right back like where you had left off. That's how probably you'd start.
Was that the one you're struggling with, or the violin, the analogy?
No, it was the like messy scattered floor like one. Yeah, okay. So basically I should start by like setting the scene, right? And like kind of representing that like that's how my mind also works.
Correct. That was a representation of your mind. Yeah.
So look around your room, okay? Think, how is your room like, okay? Is it one of those rooms, or was it one of the rooms where there is a rough book, where there's a Pokemon, where there's an encyclopedia, where there is half-made machine learning app, where the laptop's open, where it's hardly charged. So from there to your mind, where that is, maybe I should also consider doing that. Maybe, oh yeah, I remember, oh, now I know why this Pokemon is stronger than that Pokemon because of the whatever, or collections of. So it's very interesting if we can have that, and then that flows into, and which is very important, while the messiness of the mind and the room is category, what's very important is why do you love everything you love? How have you done it? And what is the end result of it? That's very important. Correct, Amy? I think that's something we need to. What is the
highlight.
objective of the essay at the end of it?
Yeah. And I think the objective, like Noreen, is for you to convey, what are you trying to convey? Actually, I'm not going to tell you. What do you think you're going to be trying to convey in your essay?
Yeah. So, like I didn't actually go through my dad's entire form, right? Like, you paraphrased it in like the case study. And when I went through the like, the last sentence of that, I really like that sentence because it shows that like I perform best in like a setting where I can choose what I want to do right at that moment. Like when I have to do something according to a schedule, then I feel constrained. So I think that's something that I could talk about in both the violin idea and this, right? Basically,
Right.
like um, I'm hard to use, but I can be powerful. Like if I have a focus, like if I want to do something.
Yeah, I think it's important for you to highlight strength in the chaos of your mind, right? That I guess
I have to tell you, I have a favorite in these two essays. In my mind, a tangible application of a computer science with an intangible ability for music is a solid combination.
It is. It is really interesting. Yeah, I agree.
So like basically what you're saying is I should go in the second idea.
I do like that more. I'm sorry about it, but yeah.
Yeah. I would also be more comfortable writing about
drawing parallels. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they both seem to be a very intrinsic part of your life, but without telling that, oh, I can do computers and music. You're actually so interesting the way we keep discussing every string and every infinite ability, just like your mind, infinite ability to absorb. But if you try to harness those strings, everything falls apart, right? So that, I think it's very important to, I would love to read that essay, frankly.
Yeah, Noreen, I'm happy to leave that decision to you. I personally do think that if it's easier for you right now to like structure an essay and piece together, if you can draw that metaphor of like the violin strings being your mind or you and connecting that with like CS and different interests of yours, then go for that. If that's coming more organically, then do that.
Yeah, I think that comes more organically.
Amy, do you want to read this essay quickly, every paragraph? Give him an idea of what we're trying to say. I'm going to get my specs as well because I can't see it. Yeah.
So, Noreen, what I was saying, like if you just read the first sentence, for example, I have been learning to play the violin in the classical Carnatic genre since I was in grade 6, right? You definitely don't want to be stating something like that because that's some kind of information that will be in your activities list, right? Now, when you continue this entire paragraph, you start telling me interesting facts about what Carnatic music is, right? And that you started a Carnatic music club. right? But do you see what I'm saying when I say it's reading like an extracurricular essay? Because you're telling me things that you have done in relation to
Yeah.
this, right? It's not a story. It's not like you're bringing me into like a scene of you playing with the club and the club members. It's not written in a story format. It is very much you reiterating, stating what you have done. Right?
So I'm just basically describing what like I'm going from start to end about what I've done. That's
Yeah,
what's happening
you're
here.
telling me. You're just telling me. And then if you go to the very end, you scroll
Come
down.
down, Ninad. Come down.
You scroll down. Okay. You even end saying, this experience taught me that we set out to achieve something, right? You definitely don't want to be outlining like something so matter-of-factly. You still want a bit of nuance, right? You want
So
to be
you
able
have to be subtle, like while saying that this is what I learned.
It's not
yeah, because it's not really that you need to be subtle. It's just about layering it with like metaphor, simile, like something, right? So it's not so matter of fact, because ultimately the Common App essay, as we had discussed, is a story about you. It is not a report, right? You're not submitting a report where it's just about giving evidence and then this is the conclusion, right? It's all about presentation, right? Setting it up. You want an opening hook. You need a closing hook, right?
And it doesn't answer so many questions for me.
Mm-hmm.
Why Carnatic music? Why did
Mm-hmm.
you want the club?
Mm-hmm.
What made Carnatic music special for you? How did you explore it? How did you learn it? None
My
of those
connection cut
questions.
off for a bit. I couldn't hear you.
Okay, so just go up, Ninad. I'll ask you my questions, okay, if I'm reading this. I have been learning to play the violin in the classic Carnatic genre since I was in grade 6. It, why did you choose it? How did you come about it? How have you been learning it? And then the next few lines are describing Carnatic music. Not important to me. And then you say, our school doesn't teach, and I felt something needed to be done about this. Why? So many things are not being taught. Why do we feel there's a need to do it? So I feel that this doesn't answer, it throws open something, but it doesn't answer any questions. It doesn't make me say, oh, here's a computer kid who also is passionate about Carnatic music. It just shows me here's a computer kid who's passionate to start a club in his, in his school. Because the entire story is about how you started the club. But it doesn't tell me why was it Carnatic music. It doesn't draw any parallel to what you went through, the emotions you went through to get this. So, which is why I kind of feel that it's a flat story. It's very two-dimensional. It's missing that what Amy is saying, the imagery, the description. We want to smell it. We want to be able to hear the tunes. We want to be able to see you fixing the strings. We want you to be lost in that world of paradise. And then from there, so lost that you don't even know what's happening around you anymore. And that's exactly how it is when you're in machine learning, for example. You're so lost in that coding. You're so lost that while you're playing the rag or whatever, let's say Bhairavi, you're thinking, oh, and if C is equal to this, and if the binary code is changed from this to this, that can work. And then you end with that, that whole. So in my mind, I am going to see that crosses and zeros floating with that beautiful rhythm of music. I want to be able to feel that.
Yeah, it's lacking like an emotional center. And essentially, like, remember what I had said in the middle of the presentation? I was like, please write with your heart and not with your mind. This is kind of definitely more reflective of writing without much attention to, I suppose, like an emotional aspect of why Carnatic music is important to you, right? Without attention to actually answering the question of, why do you value it, right? And exactly like what Priyanka had said, you have to show me, right, like how this actually came to be. Because then I'm not going to be attached to it If you're just going to tell me I like this, I'm going to be like, okay. I need
Like,
to
why does
need
it
to
matter to you?
yeah, you need to bring me into and convince me that this Carnatic music is very important, right? And the only way for you to do that is to make it personal, right? And tell me this is my journey through it. This means so much to me. But do not use the words Carnatic music is very important to me, right? You have to show it. So that's where a few drafts in, I think that's what will happen.
I want to fall in love with Carnatic music.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. You need to basically make me understand and feel, right, your passion for it, your love for it. And if you read what you've written, it's like a report. I really feel like I'm reading a report of what you have done.
Yeah.
And I know you worked on this essay. Your father's told me, and he said, look, work around it, get this done. But both Amy and I felt very strongly that we can get a better essay out of you. But
yeah, I agree. And even based off of your analysis of other people's essays, like I can already see like you understand, right, kind of how to frame a story and what elements you need to be highlighted. So when you're writing a new draft, right, keeping in mind what we have said, please take your time to actually think about how do you bring us into a moment of yours, right, while you're playing music, or into a moment with your violin, right? And describe, like, it's like a love letter to the violin. Like, describe the strings, describe the wood, describe everything about it, right? And describe how you feel in the moment while playing it.
If I can add, it doesn't have to, don't artificially try and connect it to computers or coding or your mind. Even if you're describing Carnatic music for us, that's a powerful essay. If it comes, beautiful. If it doesn't come, that's fine.
Yeah. But you don't need to tell me like facts like, I think you started listing some facts here, like right after your first few sentences in the first paragraph. Like, you don't need to do that, right? That's unnecessary. Yeah. You can tell me that it's difficult. You can tell me that it's a difficult genre, so not many people play it, but you don't need to give me the technical details, right, behind it.
The details of the music, yes. The details of what it is in India, not. You have to teach me. I don't know Carnatic music. So you teach me, make me fall in love enough to want to.
I have to describe it in a way that it feels beautiful to you as well.
Yeah, I need to feel what you're feeling. Exactly.
And we need to understand why it's beautiful to you.
Yeah, I need to feel what you're feeling. Right now, I just feel like flat. Exactly what Priyanka said. Right, you started a Carnatic music club. But that's what I've garnered from your essay.
Tell me what you're feeling. Do you have questions? Because then you get into writing, and don't worry what your first line has to be. Just start writing about the music, the impact, the feeling, anything you want. And see, if it's coming as an analogy of you, it's beautiful. If not, just start it at least.
Yeah. Actually, in the meanwhile, I was thinking about like what I want to say. I think it would be nice if I started off with like describing like that when I play the violin, like I feel like I'm in control of these infinite notes and I can just like produce any melody that I want. And then I can try to somehow like connect that to the way my mind works, that like there are these infinite things that like I have the capacity to like learn, and then I can probably talk about a journey on like how I learned to tame my mind just the way I learned to tame my violin and play music.
Wait, when you say tame, what do you mean?
I mean it was like obviously it was not easy to just start playing the violin, right? I had to like learn how to manipulate those infinite notes that I could possibly play. And in the same way, I'm on a journey to like learn to tame my mind and like
Tame,
use.
not the word. It's literally he wants to learn to use his mind. He wants
Right.
to
Yeah.
learn
Okay.
to.
Got
There are
it.
various
Got it.
there are various thoughts and strings in your mind
Thoughts.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Got it.
have to master the mind. You have to learn it. You have to unlearn the confusion and learn the melody.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a beautiful. It works in my mind. It works.
Yeah, it works. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Anything else you want to discuss?
No, I think I can probably try and start writing about this.
Right away. Take your
Yeah.
whatever laptop, pen, paper. Get into it. Do not get stuck on one thought, one line. Start writing it the way we've discussed, and I'm sure it'll work out. Okay,
Yeah.
and
Like
of
the
course
first
we're
draft
available.
can be a bit disconnected, right? Like let's say I'm not
Yeah, of
figuring out
course.
a transition.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. It's just day one, right? So
Yeah.
all right, don't worry about
You
it.
don't have to please anyone. So you're writing
No,
it
it's
because
for you.
Yeah.
It's for you.
Okay.
Okay, great, Naren. So you can log off, start, and anything you need, you can message us. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Thanks a lot. See you.
Thanks.
Bye. All the
Bye.
best. Okay.
Yeah.
I really
We-
hope he manages. It's a
Me
beautiful.
too. That'd
Can
be
you
such a cool
imagine?
topic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, where he plays the C string in the mind
Yeah.
and the C string, and it can be so beautiful.
I hope he pulls it off too. We'll see.
He's not a great writer, and his
No.
dad told me like 100 times, work on this essay. It's great. We worked on it. I am good with essays, so I know what we've done. So
It's like a report. It really like, and I was pretty blunt. I was like, it reads like an extracurricular essay.
thank God you were so blunt, because I hated it and I didn't know where to start.
I'm very blunt. Like I'm like, yeah, I don't think it reads like a personal blog. Like I'll tell students, I'll be like, this looks like a blog.
Well, you
Doesn't
put
look
it in
like
a
an
very
essay.
positive way. You said it's an extracurricular activity, so it's not wasted.
Yeah.
I kind of like that positive twist you had.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I didn't want to be like, you can never use this.
yeah, I would have said, throw it, try it. But yeah, that was good. I think both these kids are on their work. Did you want to start with the third one?
Yes, let's do that.
Who's the third one? Ninat?
Marlon.
Oh, Marlon. Okay, got it. Yeah, that's a tough one. Okay, let's bring him on. Hi, Marlon.
Hi, Marlon.
Hi, Amy.
How's it going?
Good, good. I had actually taken a printout and I discussed the entire thing with my parents last night. So we just made like
Okay.
everything regarding what possibly talk about in every prompt.
But before that, why don't you tell me what you felt about the presentation and the case studies?
Yeah.
It was really informative, and the case studies were like, I mean, I could relate to a few of them, and it was really like, I don't know how to explain it, but there was something about each and every case study that you could possibly learn from. So it was really fascinating to hear out of everyone's story. So yeah.
No, great. Really
I
great.
think you were very sensitive in picking up their tones, I must
Correct.
say.
You could definitely read between the lines.
Amy, you want to go first in this case?
Yeah, I definitely can. Actually, one of the students kind of used what I thought would be a really great starting point, not even starting point, like a theme for your essay. I can't remember who was it who said that, oh, you know, we could use sailing as a metaphor of sailing through life and challenges. I was like, wait, I was like, yeah, that's what I thought could be used. Because of how well you have written about sailing in your questionnaire, I also think it is a quite unique sort of activity to talk about. It is intense, you know, having to take charge of a crew and make sure that everything's functioning. I mean, I think I'd be very stressed out. Just the thought of like being in charge of that really stresses me out. So when you had written about that, I was like, wow, that really demonstrates leadership really well. And clearly you're passionate about it. On top of that, like, because bullying, and I'm so sorry when I had read your response, I I felt for you. Like I felt your pain. Like I know that it's been really difficult. And to actually like also read about how you have taken from that experience and, and started that PIL, was it public litigation form to lobby government against bullying, like passing laws against it. I think that is so inspirational. And so when I read about all these things, I was like, okay, maybe you could start with sailing, right? Talk about kind of being on the boat, different things that you're managing, different people, different things you need to keep in mind, right? And then connect that to also the different things that the challenges, right, that you've also personally had to overcome when it came to bullying, and ultimately focus more on the process of overcoming the pain, the suffering. What did you actually do, and what have you done so far? Like, what was the outcome? And the outcome would have been things like the public litigation form, the podcast that you created, right? So that's kind of what I had thought you could write about. I just think that their sailing is a beautiful metaphor for you, right? And it also happens to be like an activity that you are passionate about, right?
Yeah.
You can ask your questions and I'll say mine.
Yeah, Malin, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions. So you're saying that I should focus on sailing as a metaphor for everything that I'm doing, like about how I overcame bullying as the issue. And then you said that I should talk about the process of overcoming it. So how do you exactly want me to go about it? Like, do you start talking about sailing, or do you talk about how you were bullied and then the challenges that you faced and how you overcame it? Like, how do
I
you
actually see it as starting out with sailing, right? Where, like I just described to you, where you're on a boat, you bring me into the setting of being on that boat, managing all these different aspects, right? And making that a metaphor for your life, right? What have you had to manage to keep that boat afloat? And no longer is a boat floating. In your conclusion, the boat will be sailing through life, right? So it's kind of like,
so it's an imagery, right? Like to take the boat as who I am in reality. So the boat is okay, fine.
The boat is you. Correct. Exactly. And so I also like, my only fear is I don't want you to dramatize, even though you have been through a lot in terms of, the suffering that you've been through. I'm so sorry to hear that. It's terrible. It's absolutely horrible. I really felt for you, right? Truly. I think that rather than focusing on the suffering aspect of the bullying, I do want you to kind of focus on overcoming that, the strength that it took to overcome that, right, in the process. Because I don't want it to be like a drama, so like, sob story, because it's not. It has been difficult, and you've obviously gone through really tough times, but look at where you are today. Like, look at you sailing through life, right? And helping combat bullying, right? And the terrible sort of effects that it had on you. And you want to make sure that other people also are aware of the truly negative ramifications that it brings.
So my take is, now, so far we've been on the same page. My take is a little different here. And I want to just share that. In my mind, Molin, I am jumping into the harsh reality straight off. So my opening hook literally started with numbers, lots of numbers. So 720 days, or however 4,520 days, 25 posts, 6 people, 12 different forms of bullying, all because of X pounds of excess baggage I carried with me daily. I literally have started with drama. Okay. And my first paragraph, I would probably describe what you went through. So everything that's happened, but not with drama, but in, how people write facts. So for me, your first part is literally just facts. Da 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 da. Something about boys coming to squeeze my dash dash and spanking me and violating me, throwing toilet water, using jet spray, whatever. Everything that's happened, first paragraph. Okay, but thereafter, I have to go to exactly where Amy is, where, what did you do with it? So I wouldn't recommend talking about the piece or the wall. You shared it with us, but I don't want to share it with the college. It's very personal. It was a moment lapse of reason. And I don't want to give that momentary lapse of reason the whole 650 words importance, because if we write that, that becomes the most important thing. So I want you to then talk about your brother and his role, the trekking, the sailing, but that internal drive to do something about it. Externally, sailing, trekking, everything helped you. But that internal drive that you're still going through to get to it. And in my mind, the essay again ends with numbers, but this time the numbers are totally different. It is 2 awards, 20 podcasts, 33 litigations filed, 45 visits to the Supreme Court, whatever. So the numbers have all changed. And in the process, I've actually managed to not only lose the emotional baggage, but also that X pounds of physical baggage that I was always carrying. So in my mind, that's the essay. So very different. And you have to pick and choose which one you want to work with, because the sailing one is beautiful. I love the boat. And if you can show that whole sky, the boat, the freedom, and we see only what's outside. None of us really see the boat.
Yeah, we have no idea. I have no idea. I'm just imagining it to be challenging.
I mean, when I went sailing, I was like, ooh, look at the sunset, the champagne, the glass, the beauty. I didn't know what the boat was going through. I didn't know the worries about a small hole or a tiny movement or a little. So I love that as well. I mean, I closed my eyes when Amy was talking about it because I could dream it, but totally different essays. We both
completely.
got totally different.
Completely, yeah.
And that's very exciting. I mean, I like that.
It is.
Talk to us. Which one?
Yeah, what do you think?
So I needed to I should go for.
Sorry?
I have to think of which aspect I go for, right? Is
yes.
it Priyanka's or is it yours? You don't
have to take the decision. You can discuss it with us.
Yeah, you can just talk about it. Like,
so my
bounce your ideas.
When you are talking about sailing, that it's much more imaginative, because like the second you start talking about sailing, while the person while the college counselors are actually reading it, they'll probably try to imagine what you've been through and how you've overcome it based on the sailing experience, and it would possibly take a unique sport with a relation with how you've been bullied. So I think that's a really good aspect. And then your idea was related to facts and overcoming it, and then internal drive to do something, and how my brother helped me through it. So I mean, that is also a very, very good way to look at it, because the kind of start that I'll probably have for this essay will be completely different from the first one, which is related to sailing. And
these are just very different approaches. Correct.
The sailing starts on a softer approach. You've kind of, got the person with you. This one starts on a hard-hitting, eye-banging approach. Like they're like, okay.
So the intention is, because if you have the grades and if you have everything, the examiner usually reads the first 3 lines and the last 3 lines, right? That's exactly how they usually do it. I mean, that's how I've heard of it.
No,
not true.
But really engaging in the start, like according to me, what you told me, like according to the facts that you gave, I think that would be like really engaging for the reader. Like he would get his interest like directly upon the essay the second he starts reading it, and that'll make him want to read more. So I'm not sure as to which one I should pick right now.
Here's what I want you to think about. What is the objective of this essay?
Correct.
Right, Amy, that's what you would have asked, correct?
What are you trying to actually convey about yourself? What is your message? Really? What are you trying to tell them?
That despite of the hardships that I've been through because of bullying, I have overcome it in several ways, and that has benefited me in various regions of life. So I mean, according to that, I would look at sailing. I mean, I just don't know, but that's something really interesting. But I'm still a little unsure about which essay to choose.
Why don't you? Because both would be great. I don't. I mean, I actually kind of love the fact that Bianca was like, just go straight into the nitty gritty. Where I'm like, stay away from it, and I'm like, make it sound like you've grown. And I think it's because, from my personal experience, sometimes writing about things in a very like matter of fact way, when it's so deeply, I don't know, personal, sometimes it doesn't work. But if for you, right, this could really work, like just straight up statistics, facts, right? I think that would be like you said, a really interesting book, right? So it actually really just depends on what resonates more with you, really.
My only
Like,
intention is not to just directly talk about or try to, make the examiner feel as to what I have been through. Instead, try to slowly make them understand how I went through something and then how I overcame it. So, I mean, just based on that, I don't know, but I think the first idea of adding sailing to bullying would be something. It's a smart way of getting through everything and trying to make them realize as to what you've been through. And so I feel I should try to go for the first one. I'm not sure. Should I? Should I not?
Don't
Because both
softball
of them are
it. Don't softball it too much, Molin. Whether you're going the sailing way or the other way, you've gone through something, you have a story to tell, they should know
correct.
your story. That is something I'm sure about. So don't softball it. Either ways, you're going to be talking about it. But
it's about how you want to present it. Like, do you want to go like the softer route, or do you want to go straight into it? Right.
It's just a presentation.
Yeah.
And if your message is the bullying, don't. Yeah, that's something I'm going to definitely say. Don't softball it. You have a story. Not too many people have a story to tell. Don't lose that
I think
650
I'll go for
words.
the second one then, because I think I'd go for the second
Whatever
one
you
because
will.
no, because no, I mean, even if someone's gone through something, they'd always try to go with the softer part of it. But when you do have something to tell, then you should give it all and try to make it clear as to what you've been through. So I think according to that, I would go for the second.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. Try writing the sailing one anyway, because, Amy, he can actually use that even for his extracurricular.
Yeah.
Like,
Definitely.
what do you like? Because sailing is definitely going to be a story which is going to have
feature. It's going to feature in your application. Yeah, it will. So you can write two drafts.
That's good. I will.
But beta, Molin, here's it. You have 1.5 hours. Choose one of them and make that one count for now. Okay,
Yeah,
because in this
exactly.
1.5 hours or 2 days or the next week, we need you to focus on one of them. Work on the other one. You've got two brilliant ideas. It's up to you. But currently work on one so that we can see and help you with that one. Okay. So take a moment, go back to your mom and dad as well, because they know you better than anyone, or your brother, and see which one's working better for them. And then start this. Okay. We're available, as we've already told you. Anything you need, put it on the group and we're ready to chat. Yeah.
So what's at 2 o'clock exactly? What do you have to do?
We're going to discuss whatever you've written a little bit.
What you've written.
Is it compulsory to complete the entire essay by then?
No, not the entire one, but at least get as much as you can on paper.
Okay.
I mean, don't come to us with like a paragraph and go like.
No. I mean, if you have like around 2 to 3 paragraphs, it's fine, right? Like,
I'd like you to do the beginning to the end, because writing 2 to 3 paragraphs doesn't help unless there's an end to it. But it could be scattered. It needn't have a structure, tone, style, anything. But you can't write a 650 story, it's 300 words, and say, what do you think about it? It's a...
Yeah, I won't give the right picture in the mind.
No.
So I do agree. True. Sounds good. Then I'll sit to write it right now. Then
perfect.
After having lunch, 15 minutes. Cool. Thank you.
It's only 12:15. Why do you need to have lunch now? Start writing. I haven't even had breakfast yet.
Okay, fine.
Oh, right. I forgot that about Priyan.
I'm still crying about
Bye. Thank you.
what I ate last night. Okay, so Molin, get writing now, beta. Don't find excuses of
I,
lunch and family and
no,
everyone's
no,
calling you for it. Just get down to doing
I won't.
this. Okay? This
I'll just
matters.
do that. Yeah, I
Thank
will.
you.
Thank you.
Bye. Whew, that was a tough one. My gosh, we
Yeah.
both took completely different approaches. I was really
Yeah.
intrigued.
I actually don't generally like, personally, this is just me personally, I don't like it when students write about bullying, even though it is a very massive problem. I think it's because what they describe, but Mullen's a little different. I think because he really went through it. He really went through it. Like, and it's interesting because Ria wrote about bullying, and I was like, but I was like, fine, this is exactly, she knew that this is what she wanted to write about. So I was like, fine.
Yeah. Because the problem with this kid is he has nothing else. His marks don't go for him. They're not doing very well. He's got crazy.
Oh,
That's why.
okay.
I now will tell you all this. He doesn't know what he wants to study. His letter of recommendation is not going to be very powerful because he's barely been here.
Been
It's
here,
only,
yeah.
and Jamnabai has had a change of counselor. They have an external counselor who just tells them, write what you feel like. So I'm a little concerned that his common app better be powerful.
Yeah, it does need to be then. If his grades aren't that great and, you know, his LORs aren't going to be particularly strong.
Cannot.
Okay. Yeah. No,
But I
see.
enjoyed this. It was fun to see two totally contradictory ways
Yeah.
of teaching, and that was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I really don't know. I just hate talking about, like, not hate it. I maybe it's because like when I read about someone talking about a lot of their pain and suffering in a really dramatized way, I feel, I don't know, something about it just like doesn't sit well with me. So that's why I tend to be like, but try to talk about the strength aspect of it more.
And I feel put it in one paragraph, 4 lines out. And
yeah, then
talk
it's
about,
done.
because then you can't not think of those 4 lines. You'll be like, wow, look
What?
at what he's achieved from those lines, you know. So
No, yeah, I agree. Good approach.
I mean, we don't know. I think let his parents decide it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Ninad, you can bring the next one. Are we ready?
Yep.
Amy, you want to take a
Yep.
quick break or are we ready? I think
No,
we
I'm
should just
ready.
get in, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
We
in the
only have
waiting
like,
room, man. I'll let him in.
Who's in? First, tell us.
Imad.
Imad.
Imad. Okay, got it. Hi, Imad.
Hi, Imad.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing good.
So first,
Good.
quickly tell us, what did you feel about the presentation, the case studies, and so far what we've done?
I think it was quite helpful. I think understanding what's required for the common epic. Just thinking about like how I'm going to approach it. Yeah, I found it quite helpful.
What about the case study?
I think uh, there's just a lot of talent within the group of people over there, and I think all of them had unique experiences and unique personalities. I, I, and I think it was helpful just looking at how other people crafted all their narratives and how they would have gone about it. So yeah.
Awesome. So, Amy, do you want me to go first here?
Yeah, go for it. No problem.
Okay. Here's the thing, Imad. In my mind, when you're academically a very brilliant kid, which you are, and you've got so many proficiencies under your spanner, so to speak, I almost don't want to talk about it in the common application essay, because then you're giving yourself importance. If you have to talk about it, the additional information, the letter of recommendation can all speak about it. I have two ideas that were going on in my mind. One of them was definitely where your mother wrote about, where she speaks about you becoming the Baloo from the Jungle Book. And you bring a lot of humor on the stage and you kept the entire audience entertained. Oh, it seems Amy and I are together on this one as well. Okay, two other roles you did, one man, two governors, the Antigone, all those different characters to play from there to your journey of almost enjoying your social awkwardness and eventually delivering where you delivered. Okay. And there are lots of little quirks about you, listening to loud music, karaoke sessions, conducting workouts as family during the weekend. There's so many little elements of you which bring out a very beautiful, loving side of you. And I like that. So from your acting and that acting to the awkwardness to who you are, I like that as one topic. The second one is obviously your love for the environment. So starting from your love for your animals to the environment to the whole story behind, the conservation at the WNPS where you become the head. So that's the story as well. Yeah. Do I want to bring the anime fan? I do. I don't know how to, but it's very interesting. Maybe you could use that in one of your extracurriculars, like a massive anime fan, because a lot of people on college are, and they literally clubs and activities and actions for it. So you could do a little more research and talk about that for your specific supplemental essays. So those were two of my ideas. What are you thinking, Imad? And then Amy can jump in with hers.
Yeah, just in terms of just a question, like how would you link the appreciating the social awkwardness from drama? I yeah, just
I mean, a person who's on stage generally cannot say I'm so, I'm underconfident. They're very confident of being able to speak with people. But you actually took an opposite story. Your social awkwardness helped you perform better on stage because that was your way of not unawkward yourself. And a lot of your life is a lot like that. Like you've constantly been on stage, whether it's MUN or debating or presenting or talking. So you've used a lot of your social awkwardness to pitch it out in a public forum. I mean, if I hear you in a stage, I would never think you're socially awkward.
right. Yeah.
So in my mind, they're totally different.
Right.
Amy, you want to go?
Yeah. So actually I thought that writing about your love for animals and the environment would have been a great Common App essays topic. And I actually loved your description of Sarah. I could feel your love for this hen, right? And taking care of these animals. And Bella, I was like, yes. So I think being able for you to describe, always wanting a pet, going from stuffed toys to bringing home Sarah, right, Barney and whatever, and kind of like how they interact with each other. But then moving on to but then I actually did something with that. And I've, become the head of the Wildlife Nature Protection Society. And, in the process, because with my skills, I developed the Blue Carbon Toolkit, which I didn't even know existed, which is cool. So all these things, I think, paint quite a lovely picture of you. It's interesting because the social awkwardness part also did stand out to me, but for some reason, personally, I felt like talking about your love for animals and wildlife, nature, would present you in a good light. Maybe because actually with debating and MUN, all these things are extracurricular oriented. Maybe that's why I didn't really think that would be the best Common App topic. But in your case, if social awkwardness was something that you felt like you struggled with and really had to overcome, and through debate, you made all these friends and MUN, what have you, then maybe that could be also an interesting essay topic. But yeah, I really like the wildlife and the animals.
So I have to say that was also what I said second, but it was actually my first. And I could actually almost imagine you acting like Balu because of your love for animals. I could imagine you prancing around like a monkey, probably doing research on how a monkey acts and everything. So
I love that.
And to be fair, even as a topic, it's a lesser written about topic. Social awkwardness is easier available to many students, and sustainability and environment is something that the US colleges themselves love and care a lot about.
Yeah, they really, it's become increasingly more prominent, and a lot of colleges are becoming a lot more environmentally aware, and they're proud of it, right? So they're looking for people who are also conscious.
Yes, Imad, we both expressed. I mean, to be fair, I think both of us are on similar pages. We both feel the animal and environment story will be better. I do have another option of the social awkwardness, but if I have to rank them, I definitely rank the animal environment story higher.
All right.
Yeah. What do you think? What are you feeling?
I think I I like both of these. I was actually, when I was thinking about it as well, I was thinking more of like the love for animals in that narrative, but I found like just I think the social awkwardness is also quite interesting, because I think it's kind of different to how you would normally expect a person to present themselves. But I think a lot of that might also come through like extracurricular profile. So I'd say we start working with the environment and love for animals, and then see and use it as like backup if there is.
Also, remember the social awkwardness is something you can use in your additional information to highlight all the achievements you've done through it. So we don't have to use it here. So is there any particular way you'd like to start this essay? How do you want to build it? What is your objective?
So I think starting from like the soft toys and just childhood memories and love for animals, and then how that sort of progressed into these sort of things I've been doing. I think that that is just my opinion. Do you all have any other way of going about it to make it stand out?
Sorry, I didn't know to mute myself. I mean, when I was envisioning this, I actually was envisioning you lined up with like Barney and a few other stuffed animals, and like Sarah also being there, right? And then Bella somewhere else in the picture, and you interacting with all of them, right? And dedicating your time and your energy with all of them, and then moving on, flashing forward to being, I don't know, at a meeting with as the head of conservation, or what was it? Head of
So you're doing a flashback future forward.
Yeah, correct. And then flash back to now, and then describing like a why and how, right? This passion for animals has developed.
I love this. Oh, I love it. And you can literally have like a conversation that, so Stella, take care of Barney and da-da-da, because I'm headed off to school. It could literally be like that. And
I see them lined up. Yeah.
So describe that, whatever, the hen, the Dora, the Barney, the da-da-da, and then, we obviously have to show how we're showing you move forward. Are we going to show dates? Are we going to show, maybe a little 16 years later, ... or something like that. And then that we'll have to see. But you write your story with this in mind, and let's see how that goes. I definitely like what Amy is saying. It's vulnerable. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You want to read it.
Anything else, Imad?
I think that should be it. I'll just start writing, I think, as it goes more.
Yeah.
And just do it now, okay? Because it's fresh what we've spoken. So you'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Imad.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh gosh, one more to go.
Yeah, one more. We have Ananya.
Anaya.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why I wrote Ananya in my notes.
I could hear you saying Ananya, yeah. Are we following the timeline, Ninad? More or less?
Yes, ma'am. We are like 15 minutes delayed, I guess, but we are
Oh,
pretty much here. Okay.
Also, we'll be another 15 minutes delayed. So get Anaya.
Yes, ma'am.
12:30 writing begins. Yeah. Yeah. What's the time? Oh gosh, we are going to be 15 minutes delayed with Anaya. Yeah, start Anaya. That's okay. 15 minutes is not bad.
It's all right. Yeah.
And we were hoping to conclude by 3. So we'll probably just give them till 2:30 and then meet again.
Yeah. And then
Renata, you bringing Anaya?
She hasn't joined yet. Let me just call her one more time.
For all the threatenings I give, it doesn't matter.
no, it doesn't. How it works.
And this was, for me, this one was the trickiest. Thinking of Anaya's was the trickiest because there's not much.
There's not much that stood out besides like the cognitive canvas. And even then I was like, why?
About it.
Yeah, I was like, why?
Tricky one.
I actually, yeah.
I'm just gonna, since she's not here, I'm just gonna grab some salad. I really
Yeah,
to.
go for it. Of
That's
course.
right.
It's 12:30. Wow.
What is happening in us? Yeah, put her on. Hi, Anaya.
Hi.
Hi, Anaya.
Hello, hi.
So before we start, quickly tell us, what did you feel about the presentation, the case studies?
I think that it brought a lot of clarity. I kind of understood what the requirements were for the essay and like how personal it should be. I thought it was just more like listing your achievements and like I think I got more a clear picture. So yeah.
Great. So Anaya, I had actually reviewed your questionnaire and I was thinking for your essay, maybe what you could kind of talk about, I know it sounds strange, bear with me, but therapy and different forms of therapy in your life. And because ultimately, like when I was reading about the cognitive canvas, I was trying to see if I could make connections with other things you'd written in your questionnaire. And you talked about a memory of like, laughing and never laughing so much in your life. So laughter is a form of therapy for you. And then another thing you had talked about was, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if I want to highlight retail therapy, but that's obviously a form of therapy. There's a few forms of therapy that I think you can mention, and swimming. You also mentioned swimming a few times, and how like the pain actually and how at first you really hated it, but it actually pushed you to compete and do really well. So I think there's a few things here, but I think because through cognitive canvas, you can talk about different forms of therapy in your therapy. I mean, we're going to use therapy loosely here in your life. And it could be like swimming, laughter, and ultimately it helped you create something like the cognitive canvas for others because you believe in the power of art. Right.
Okay.
So it's about like you defining therapy.
So like what do I know about all these things, or I focus on one thing and then just briefly mention?
It actually would be first you describing probably like what therapy means to you. What does it look like? It could be like staring into the ocean, swimming on a beach, or it could be coloring. Like it has to be like a few things, right, in your introduction, and then you go on to describe what you've done with these things, right? Why they matter to you, right? Why are they forms of therapy, right? What is therapy to you? Therapeutic.
It's similar, Anaya, but here's what mine is about. It's a little different as well. So mine is happiness. Okay, the whole essay is happiness without barriers or laughter without barriers here. And I would like to start with from the car stops at the signal, you're annoyed, school wasn't great, exams didn't go well, and you see this family sitting on the streets and they're eating out of that torn packet, some leftover food, probably carelessly thrown out of another car. The children don't even have clothes, their mother's barely covered, and they're talking and laughing and seeming so much happier. And it gets you thinking, what is making them happy? What is it that they've got that is happiness? The whole conscious choice of being happy here. And then and then you move straight to the next story, that it's we're on a holiday, the whole family is sitting together, and I would like to know the joke that your dad was making instead of just saying stupid jokes. He says something like da 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 da, and I'm giggling and laughing and I'm falling over, and my family is staring at me like, was it really that funny? And then again I'm thinking, what is happiness? What made me happy? And then coming down to what Amy is saying, that it's happiness, it comes from therapy is what? Therapy means happiness. And where does happiness comes from? It comes from that state of mind you are in. And what makes you reach there is the different boundaries of creativity. And you found that in art, in swimming, and which is why you wanted to introduce it. And of course, we have to talk about cognitive canvas, because that's the only project that's really highlighted in your form. So we have to talk about it, even though it's not really completed. Okay, but I'd like to be little mentioned, the whole build towards what you did, that the stories have to be really short. The bigger process is, what did you think is needed for the happiness of others? Okay, so the word is therapy, but in my mind, it's happiness. So I think we're both coming from the same angle. It's just how we're leading to the story, which is different.
Yeah, I agree. Which one do you think resonates more? What do you think you could write about? A little bit more.
The second one gives like a little bit more flow. I think like that'll just be more cohesive, but I'm not sure. I think when I start writing, I'll see what works.
What's your end result? How are you going to show how happiness has changed you, how you've made sure there's scope for happiness in your life, and thus you want to impact others and you know how to impact it. Therapy is a very strong word. If you're trying to impact the community, you have to know its impact on your own self first.
Yeah.
So you want to discuss that a little with us? What do you want to do in that part? Beginning doesn't matter. We can go Amy's approach, my approach. We'll build on it. But the truth is
the message. Yeah. What is your message? What are you actually saying?
Maybe like, I think I want to say that happiness is, I'm also sure if it's therapy, but it's just like happiness is a conscious choice. That after a few incidents that I realized that I have to make, and I can't make other people responsible for my happiness, I have to make it myself. And then also how I can help other people realize that it's that happiness, and not only happiness, but just like joy and like calm through my book, Cognitive Canvas. So I'm also sure how to like say it, but
you have to have a story in between, Anaya. Did you try it? Did you use art yourself? Did you try it on younger children? And
yeah, I did. So I did art for many years, and I felt like it brought me like peace of mind and calm, and also helped me like shut out all distractions, helped me focus. And then I felt like art has so much more potential than just being, pretty canvases on a wall. And then I designed activities around that. Like I made mindfulness activities, a gratitude journal through art. I made many activities in my book. My book has like 50 different activities to harness the power of art and like help other people also realize that it's more than just, aesthetic appearance. It's like a tool to engender mindfulness and meditation.
So yeah, like it's interesting because you use the words mindfulness meditation. You could, instead of using the word like therapy, you could call it like, I guess like your essay would be more about how art has brought you into self-awareness and being a lot more mindful, right? So maybe that could be your message, right? That art can be, and different things in your life can also do the same thing, right?
Amy, can I throw something on you as an idea? I'm not sure if it's good or not. I'm just throwing an idea,
Yeah.
Anaya, so we don't have to fall in love with it, but I want
Yeah.
Amy's opinion on it. So I'm just wondering, if she speaks about family sitting, eating from a torn packet of leftover food,
Yeah.
is food there for happiness? Then next paragraph. We're sitting in in a beautiful hotel, great location, surrounded by hills. We're sitting down and eating, and my dad says a stupid, lame joke, and we all start laughing. Is joke equal to happiness? And then coming to swimming, is swimming, is sport equal to happiness? And then she says, and then when I sit down to draw, and and then she says, I know now it's art equal to happiness. And then her whole story builds up. What do you think about that?
I actually really like that. I think it's very simple, and I also think it's quite succinct. So I think that would work as like
but you can't have these 4 stories take 300 words.
Like 300 words, no.
4 stories, max, I would say 120 words, Amy?
So the art is the main.
Yes, the art is the key to your like understanding yourself and happiness, right?
But I have to put that in my essay. Like,
what do you mean?
Do I have to put the cognitive canvas? I do to mention it and like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That is your essay.
That is
all,
exactly.
This is all
the
the
context. It's all context until you actually tell us about cognitive context.
Oh my gosh, that is absolutely the essay.
Because I thought of another idea, like in the 15 minutes. I was thought about like yoga. Like making an essay, like basically it's really stupid, but like structuring the whole essay around one sun salutation. So like the 7 asanas, the different, maybe like 7 values at each.
But there are 12 asanas to one Surya Namaskar.
But like a modified version to make it shorter.
You can't do that. You can't question what the admission officers know. They know it's a 12 Surya Namaskar session. So then all the 12 must be covered. Or you take something else which is 7, like the 7 Tibetan rites. Okay? But you have to be very careful that you can't modify it because you want to write an essay on that. Be careful. So I know what you're trying to say. She's trying to make that whole allegory of, but what are you connecting each one to?
So like, I thought maybe like a journey through my life, kind of like from the beginning. So it'll be a little difficult to make that.
I feel like just be wary. I wouldn't necessarily go with something like that because you don't want it to become like a creative writing assignment, because that's not what the Common App essay is about. Yes, you have to be creative. Yes, you have to figure out interesting ways to present yourself, but it's not a creative writing assignment. It's actually not.
When I worry, Anaya, I don't think you have that much of questionable reasons to have your value questioned to be able to write something like this. A life story demands a lot. You're a normal student with very normal everything. So we have to be a little careful. What makes you unique is not that, but this.
And if this ideas, I think then it'll work. The happiness thing. Maybe if I just structure, so I structured it like how you said, or just like put it in 150 words and the rest.
Everything that I said is the first paragraph. Where you're
that's all the intro.
Yeah, questions to myself. What is happiness? And da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's it. So I know it's incidental, it's personal based, and then you come to art, and then you're moving to your art, the whole story behind art. Why you did it, how you did it, what you realized, who did you try it on before you realized there's a need for a book like this, and what are you going to be doing now?
Okay. But the book is now published, like it'll be published in half a month.
Doesn't matter.
So like,
just write about it.
That's fine.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You're not even saying I published it. You're saying this is what I am doing.
Yeah. Okay.
And by the time someone's reading your essay, hopefully it's published.
Oh yeah, I will.
So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Questions, Anaya?
No, I think I got it.
So you have the next 2 hours. Please only write. Do not disappear. There's no lunch, no loo breaks, no water breaks, nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. If you need anything, please reach out to us.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Now is she disconnected? I'm not sure because I see her there.
Ananya, you can leave.
I think she's stuck. I'll
Can
put her
you-
in the waiting room.
Okay, no, it's there.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that yoga thing was
Yeah, no. Just
wouldn't
no.
have worked. She has nothing to talk about in
About.
yoga.
Yeah, for the yoga. And also it's so random. I'm like, wait, what? like how? Why? Maybe because she got the idea of you talking about the breaststrokes and things like that. She was like, oh, I could do that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we're good. I
Yeah.
think it's gone well.
Yeah, I think so.
Here's
I
what
think
we'll
they've-
do.
Mhm.
Amy, let's also have a lunch, but
Yeah.
maybe each we can do you want to just keep asking on the group or do you want to do it personal with each one of them?
As in,
I mean, do we
as
need to
in-
call each one of them or message each one of them and ask, hey, how are you doing? I don't think so, right?
I don't think so. They'll message us. I'm sure all of them who
Yeah.
actually want our like support right now.
Great.
Will
So we'll
message.
just write that we finished all personal calls. If anyone has any questions from now till
Yeah, please
the
contact.
next 2 hours, reach out to us and we'll meet again at 2:30 on the Zoom call.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Sounds good. All right. Thank
Right.
you. I hope
Thank
you're
you.
enjoying this.
I am. It's interesting. I love the fact that we didn't really share what we had come up with for all the students. It's quite interesting. I like
That was fun, yeah. Because
Yeah.
we might have more kids who want to do this later in July and
Mhm.
August. So I thought we could do another run then if we have it.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
5
happy
is
to do that.
perfect.
Yeah, any more would be a little long. I would agree. Yeah.
It's boring, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Perfect.
Thank you. Enjoy your lunch.
Thank
I'll
you
also go
too.
down.
Eat. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. See you.